Hey there, how are we doing today, guys and gals? Today is my skill training day, so it's a day where I'm not really trying to break down the muscle fibers so much. I'm sure I still do break down some muscle fibers passively, but because that's not the active goal of the day. The active goal is to just work on techniques for various skills. These are typically the skills that I train at the beginning of my workout on strength training days. Those strength training days are the days where the goal is to break down the muscle fibers and undergo hypertrophy, and our body gets broken down a bit, and it's an adaptation machine. So its job is to build us back a little bit stronger, so we don't break down as easy the next time. But anyways, I'm kind of starting to ramble on that. Today's skill day. We're not trying to break down muscle fibers. We're just working on techniques. Today it's kind of a cooler day, as I showed when I first started my video there. When I first came in front of the camera, I have two shirts on. Given they're not super thick, I have a long sleeve shirt on underneath this sun shirt. It was around, I'd say 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's see, that is somewhere around 7-8 degrees Celsius, if I can quickly do the mental math in my head correctly. Yeah, and it's kind of windy as well. So just kind of chilly outside, so to say. It's a little too cold for comfort. So that was why I layered up today, despite it not exactly being, wintertime or freezing temperatures or anything like that. But as I did discuss during wintertime, something that's important when you work out, especially if you work out outside, really if you work out anywhere, is your comfort. You need to be comfortable, because if we're not comfortable, our minds are focused on what is bothering us instead of the techniques that we're trying to focus on. So it's a bit of a distraction. If say I was cold and uncomfortable while I was out here training. So by layering up, hopefully I eliminated that variable. Now, I think I've done a pretty good job. I wasn't exactly feeling like I was going to do the best job when I came outside to work out today. But I just done it anyways, because you got to be consistent. You got to maintain that consistency. Whether it's a good day for you, a bad day for you, whether you have a broken leg and you're on a walker, no matter what is wrong, you have to keep working out. You have to learn how to work out and how to change your routine as needed. So anyways, thankfully my leg is not broken, but I have definitely been there before where I've had very debilitating injuries. But today, thankfully, that did not apply to me. Just didn't really feel like it was going to be a good day. But I came out anyways, and as I've talked about in some of my videos before, some days you'll feel like it's going to be your best handstand, and it's not your best handstand. And then on some days you'll feel like your handstand is going to be garbage, and those are the days you hit your best handstands. And kind of going along with that message, I wouldn't really say today was my best handstand. On the parallettes here in a little bit, when I get into handstand press, you'll see what I'm talking about. But it was pretty good. It was a pretty good handstand here for the past week or two. It was probably my best handstand on the parallettes. But anyways, just finished that warm-up. Now we're going to, well, I guess this is technically still a little bit of a warm-up, but we're just getting those one-arm pull-up muscles ready to fire. Putting a little bit more tension on this leg-assisted one-arm pull-up. Putting a little bit more tension on my arm. And things were feeling good, so Today I'm going to try a full one-arm pull-up with 2-finger assistance. And it felt pretty good. I did notice as I managed to get past 90 degrees of flexion in that dominant pulling arm, when I was really choking up on the bar, that did kind of, didn't really hurt, didn't really irritate the tendonitis or the area where I've been having tendonitis in my left elbow, but it did kind of give me a red flag and say, hey, be careful. You're treading on hot coals. You are walking through fire. So stop while you're ahead. So for the next attempt, I went into that 90-degree lock off, just so I could get a little bit more one-arm stimulus without, walking through that fire, treading those coals like I was talking about. You do not have to do just these crazy things that you see people do in order to get strong and in order to train the skill. To put it a little more simple, like you do not have to do a full one-arm pull-up to train a one-arm pull-up. You can break it down into easier building blocks, and even that minute stimulus over time adds up. But anyways, here was that that handstand I was talking about. I don't know if I'd say that was my best all-time handstand or not, but that was a pretty good handstand despite how I was feeling when I first came out to work out. And my balance in all of these was pretty good, I really need to work on trying to go from that full handstand into a straddle planche while maintaining straight arms throughout the movement. I think that'll be a pretty good next building block to work on. But I felt really strong on this planche here, the straddle planche to tucked planche attempt that you see in that clip. Felt pretty strong on that. I cut this clip down. You see that blue band hanging up there. I tried to do band-assisted human flags, and it was just a waste of my time. I love the bands, and they're very helpful for various things, but there's also some things that, I've heard good things from other people, and they say, hey, try using a band to unlock a muscle up, or try using a band to help with human flags, and those may work for some people, but bands do not work for everyone. That is something I'm pretty confident in at this point. Some things, like a regular muscle up, for me personally, it was better to just work on the progressions and not try to do band assistance, because the band just completely changed the way the movement felt. And I think these human flags are the same. I mean, look at this clip, how well I held these compared to the previous clip. And on this clip, I didn't try to use any band assistance at all. I just got out there, I got my head in the game, and I didn't have anything to distract me, is what I'm getting at. I just focused on the technique and try my best to master my own body weight. I think this is a third attempt. I think on this one I try to walk my feet up the bar, and which is a skill in its own, as I touched on core day. It's actually pretty difficult to walk your feet up the bar like this. But I really wanted to try to hold like a fetal negative or a tucked negative and just ride it all the way down. And I was able to ride it down until, horizontal. But when it comes to transitioning, with the feet on top to the feet on bottom, I lost that on both sides. So I'm not sure if, I'm just going to have to get used to that transition, because there's some changes that go on with our muscles there when we make that transition. Just different angles that we're applying pressure. I'm not sure if I'm going to have to practice that for a few tries to figure out, how to necessarily go about that transition, or if there was something I was doing wrong. Regardless, whether I can make that transition or not, let's not just kind of glance over the fact of how well I'm able to control that human flag compared to where I was at 3 weeks ago, where I pretty much had no human flag. I definitely felt those when I got down from that skill. Here, I'm not trying slow muscle up, but I am just trying a regular muscle up. I can do unassisted ring muscle ups. I can do unassisted bar muscle ups. But I was trying slow ring and slow bar muscle ups there for a while. And in the middle of that transition, it really puts a lot of stress on your elbows. And I strained or sprained or I pulled something in my left elbow, and that's led to some tendonitis. And as you can see here, that's what I'm thinking about. It led to some tendonitis, so I've been taking it easy. I quit training the slow muscle up, and it's actually been a while since I've trained regular muscle up. I've been trying just like these dynamic muscle ups where you swing and you use a lot of momentum to help you get around the bar, and that's a lot easier on the joints. But I wanted to try and hit a regular ring muscle up today, because if I ever have any hope of trying to train slow muscle up again one day, I'm going to have to get my elbow past the regular muscle ups. But anyways, we're working on some front lever now. I was able to do pretty okay with that full front lever. I guess you'd call it like a pull up and then negative. Now I'm kind of working on these advanced tucked. I'm not really sure what I call them. Advanced tucked holds. Well, advanced tucked pull up and then advanced tucked hold. I was really feeling that though, but I feel like that was a great exercise, despite how difficult it was. Saying an extra prayer here because I'm going to try and chain a few skills together so I can knock them out pretty quickly. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do. And to be honest with you, I don't remember what I did here, but we'll watch at the same time. So there's that dynamic muscle up I'm talking about. 360 spin over. I was trying to go to the hands, but I couldn't quite make it on this try. So here's another dynamic muscle up to bar hop over backspin. And then from the backspin, we'll go into a full back lever. And I probably could have got a bit lower on that, but I still, I came down pretty far, given the distractions I had with those other skills. Here I think I done something starting from a Korean transition. Korean transition actually felt pretty good today. I felt like I got, quite around the bar quite easily. And then we're going to go into a dynamic muscle up. Into 360 spin over to the forearms. And I think here lately, just about every time I go to the forearms, it is almost guaranteed that I'm going to be tangled up with the bar. So I really need to work on going to the hands, and that's what I'm saying there, like I need to quit going to the forearms and go to the hands. But I think before I try that again, I think we're going to hit some handstand push-up. Today I made the change. I love this Bosu, and I think it does great things for your handstand, as I've talked about before. But I'm going to start working. First attempt is going to be on the Bosu, just to get things activated. Whether it's a freestanding handstand in the warm-up, or whether it's a handstand push-up. Or what, but the second attempt is going to be on flat ground or on the parallettes, or it's going to be something solid. where I have to really think about what I'm doing. And that started off really good there, that handstand push-up, and then when I came back up to the top, I'm not sure if I relaxed the core at the top or what happened, but I lost it at the top when I came back up. But that's okay. We'll try handstand push-ups another time, some other time, because I really wanted to try this 360 spin over to the hands again. So we're going to hit a pull over, and then we're going to try to go to the hands. And looky there, I was able to get it to the hands. That's something I really need to work on practicing. And then right there at the end of that, before I dismounted, I tried not really sure what it's called, but it's the prerequisite to a 360 muscle up. Like, you do a muscle up, and then you have to practice. They couldn't quite get to the hands anymore. But you have to practice the like hopping up on the bar and dismounting and then re-grabbing before you hit the ground. And that is a prerequisite not only to the 360 muscle up, but also the muscle up where people jump up and put their feet on top of the bar and stand up. I'm not sure if I ever want to do that or not, but I was just playing around, seeing what I like, seeing what works for me, seeing what I don't think I'd ever want to do. Just having some fun. Let's see, I think, we're gonna try that 360 spin over again. And I went to the forearms again, and like I was saying, almost every time I go to the forearms, I get tangled up with the bar, so I'm really going to have to be strict on myself and go to the hands every time, or at least try to. Here's a little bit of freestanding handstand. Despite me having to walk here and unable to hold it steady, I felt pretty stable doing this. Even though I was walking my hands, I felt like I was pretty well balanced in the movement. But now we're just going to stretch out. You gotta know when to draw the line. You gotta know when to call it a day. It was a pretty good workout. I felt like my handstand balance got a little better, especially there towards the beginning of my workout when I was on those parallettes. That's the best I've done in quite a while on the parallettes. And something I think is going to help me is, I love the Bosu. I'm going to keep using the Bosu for the first attempt on various things. But then I'm going to go to either the ground or the parallettes. I'm going to go to something solid for that second attempt. Once the Bosu has got my central nervous system woken up and in the zone, then I'm going to try to take what I've learned there and apply it to a solid foundation. Here I'm just kind of showing a different angle of how I stretch out. You can see how I'm trying to keep my legs straight. I'm trying to bend over as far as I can go and just really stretch things out. It's always good to stretch at the beginning and at the end of a workout. I think a good rule of thumb is that you should stretch and put some pressure on your joints and your connective tissues, but you should never put enough pressure to where you feel like saying "ow" out loud. If you feel like saying "ow" out loud, then you're putting too much pressure on things. But that's all I had for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my training. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those below. And have a nice day. Take care of yourselves. Stay consistent with your training. Keep training for life. Bye-bye.